This is today's Scorpio horoscope prediction. Those born between October 23 and November 22 belong to this zodiac sign. Love, although important, is not everything for Scorpios. They base their stability on other facets, although the sentimental field is very important to them. Today you may strive to please someone who really does not deserve it. Think carefully about what you do, because it is likely that you are overdoing it with someone who is not worth it. Scorpios are very generous and altruistic, but you have to learn to differentiate who deserves to be thrown with them and who doesn't. With regard to love, I tell you that until you value yourself as you deserve, others will not do the same, and you will not find that person who will change your life. With your partner, the same thing happens to most of you. You go out of your way to please them, and you still haven't realized that the more you do to please them, the more distant they are. It is time for you to start valuing yourself more and loving yourself more. This is how you will get others to value you more. You are very sociable people and you like to be surrounded by friends, but you do not like being controlled or having to be subjected to a partner. This may be your main problem when it comes to maintaining a stable relationship. Today the Scorpio woman may come up with this topic. If you are starting a relationship, I advise you to make things clear to the other person from the beginning so that they know how to act with you, otherwise you will soon get tired, as has happened to you on other occasions. Perhaps finding a point of balance between total freedom and being subjected to a relationship is what you should try to achieve. It is not impossible, it is just a matter of proposing it and explaining it to the other person so that they understand you and put it into practice. Today's free prediction for the Scorpio man: it is essential that your self-esteem is not so low and that you stop thinking about what others will say about you. A Scorpio man is by nature a bit shy, and if you add to this the need for approval from others, we have a cocktail that is not at all favorable for love, and it is difficult to reverse the situation along this path, but that it would be possible to take advantage of the influence of Mars to begin that much needed change. With regard to a past relationship that is still fluttering inside you, it is better to turn the page, although this is only advice for the vast majority and is what indicates the tendency of your sign. Therefore, it does not mean that everyone will do the same with that love of the present or the past. Scorpio love horoscope today for singles: remember that there is no harm that does not come for good, and that should be your philosophy in relation to love and all kinds of relationships, whether they are open, sporadic, or traditional couples. It is more than possible that there has been some disappointment and that you still have consequences of it. Do not worry about that, because the horoscope of your sign today tells us that these are feelings that are going to mitigate and move away more and more. Regarding the future of Scorpio in this field, I tell you that the beginning of a new state is more than possible. You are a little down and without desire. I tell you that with that attitude you are not going to achieve much. You have to take small steps so that the illusion for love and for life begins to flourish again in you. If you have a partner, it is a bad day to take any aspect of your relationship for granted, especially if it must be settled if, in fact, the person next to you and you put the same thing to the same extent. Do you invest in your relationship as much as your partner invests? Answering yes to this question is lying a bit. If you do not have a partner, you are thinking of playing everything on one card, and that it is your attractiveness that decides everything in your favor. But that person you are interested in has not approached you for that reason, but because he sees in you dimensions of yourself that you do not know. Loving her will mean knowing yourself a little more. For those questions that do not end up being decided in your favor or against you, a little extra help is convenient, coming from that space to which you resort very little due to your pragmatism, your inner and spiritual. You usually go beyond what your body can perform in any aspect. At work, in exercise, in those little excesses that you allow yourself in food and drink, it's time to change that, because it is essential that you also nourish and develop your mental and spiritual life. It is a bad day to take any aspect of your relationship for granted, especially if it must be resolved if, in fact, the person next to you and you put the same thing to the same extent. Do you invest in your relationship as much as your partner invests? Answering yes to this question is lying a bit. For those questions that do not end up being decided in your favor or against you, a little extra help is convenient, coming from that space to which you resort very little due to your pragmatism, your inner and spiritual life. To ask for and receive that help, all you have to do is light a blue candle tonight. You usually go beyond what your body can perform in any aspect. At work, in exercise, in those little excesses that you allow yourself in food and drink, it's time to change that, because it is essential that you also nourish and develop your mental and spiritual life. When we have suffered an injury, we can develop some residual anxiety in the damaged area. Someone brushes up against us in the supermarket and we instinctively move away. We may have a psychosomatic limp to protect a limb that was once injured. The pains, whether physical or psychological, leave their scars. Is it possible that you have had an exaggerated reaction to something that, seen now, no longer poses a real threat? The planetary configuration known as the finger of destiny makes it possible for you to re-examine a wound from the past, put it into context and free yourself from it. It's time to move on. Tip of the day. Don't trust too much, but don't distrust everything either, because that leads to you ending up being solely responsible for everything you do and try. Lucky numbers for today: 1, 14, 32, 33, 36, 38. Free Scorpio Daily Horoscope Tips. All the signs of the horoscope are divided into 3 decans according to the date of birth, and this is the specific prediction of today's horoscope for each of them. First decan, October 23rd to November 1st. Finish one thing and then you can start another. This is the main advice for those born on these days. Second decan, November 2nd and 11th. Haste is not a good advisor, neither in love nor in any field. Third decan, October 12 and 22. Start walking in search of what you want, but the horoscope advises you to take small steps and be cautious.